Being around the most creative people in the industry is where we wanted to be.
But what we love most of all is taking everything that we've learned over the last 14 years, whether it's fashion or photography or all of our wedding and event experience, and bringing it to you each and every week. Hello and welcome to Notes from the Lightbox. I'm Stephanie Boy. Thanks for joining us. Today we are talking about why wedding photography costs what it does. So getting engaged is very exciting, and when you start to lay out the day, you realize weddings are expensive and you have to do a budget. A lot of people will take into consideration their own personal interest. For example, if you're a musician, you probably will put a lot of weight and the emphasis of your budget on the band or the DJ. If you love food, you might consider putting most of your money into the food and the catering. I am a photographer's wife, so obviously photographs play a huge part in my life, but I think that this is where most people agree. This is a pretty important line item in your budget because the one thing you walk away from a wedding with is photographs. So taking time to consider how much money you want to put toward photography is pretty important. One thing that we get asked from time to time is, why am I paying so much for wedding photography? It seems that people sort of understood when people were shooting film, when photographers were shooting film, that everything had to go to a lab and there was a fee for processing and all of that kind of stuff. But now it's the age of digital photography, and even my uncle has a great camera. So why am I paying so much for wedding photography? This is a great question. The first thing I would say is time. So when you look at the photographer, you think, oh, they're with me 8, 10, 12 hours. Really? That's not such a big deal. But any photography studio who is doing what they should do for a wedding is doing way more work than that 10 or 12 hours that they're with you. For every hour that your photographer is with you on the wedding day, there's probably 3 or 4 hours of pre- and post-production work that go into your wedding. For example, in our studio, we really take time to do a visualization or a war plan meeting with our clients so that we know exactly what they want shot. We are thinking through the timeline of the day, and we are making sure that we have factored that into what's happening so that we can give you and maximize the output of the photographs on your wedding day. This is really important. And after the wedding, the time is spent editing. You have somebody who's going through and processing all of these raw images into JPEGs for you, and then they're tweaking those pictures to make them really spectacular and stand out when you frame them and when they're ready. So there's a lot of work before and after the 10 hours of your wedding day that the photographer and the studio is doing. The second factor that will affect your wedding photography cost is the experience of the photographer. It stands to reason that the longer your photographer has been at their craft, the better they are. The better they are, the more in demand they are, and the more expensive they are. So all of these things factor together. But what does that mean for you, the client? Well, wedding photography is not all that unlike football or a dance. You want your photographer to sort of know all the components of what's going to happen, anticipate the next move. They need to be able to work under pressure. They need to be able to get the job done, and they need to be able to think on their feet. I mean, this is what a wedding day is. A wedding day happens in nanoseconds, moments, special little looks and glances. They happen so fast. You can't have a photographer who's fumbling with their lighting or their shutter speeds or not knowing what great positions to be in. Somebody who's been doing this knows what's a great angle, they know how to get the shots, they know what it takes to build a beautiful album. So all of those things are something that comes with the labor of love and the desire to be a great photographer. You don't get that with your sort of weekend warriors. So you are paying for the experience and the knowledge that hopefully your professional photographer brings to your wedding day. The third thing, and probably one of the things I think is really important that may not be that obvious to the casual observer, is the consistency factor. You are paying for a photographer to have consistently great photographs. It is easy for any person who's taking 800 to 1,000 pictures in a day, in a wedding day, to get a great 10, 12, 15 pictures that they're putting on a blog post. But a blog post is like a minute percentage of what the entire gallery of your wedding day looks like. You want to have an experienced photographer who's going to give you consistently great pictures. Again, under all lighting situations, under all different aspects of the wedding, the getting ready pictures, the preparation pictures, all of the details, the bride and groom portraits. You want somebody who understands that you want long shots, you want close-ups, you want mid-length, you want pictures that are really artistic. You also want pictures for your mom and dad, pictures that they can brag about, say, look how gorgeous my child is. So this is a consistently beautiful gallery. I have seen photographers come to me that show me great blogs and stuff like that, and I'm so excited to see them. And then I say, oh, can I see a wedding? And I get the wedding, and I'm like, oh my God, but like this is so dark, and this is so muddy, and this is not pretty. So it's not just about those great 15, 20 pictures. You want a consistently gorgeous gallery. So ask any photographer that you meet, especially when you're paying the big prices, can I see a gallery? What does it look like? And look at the breadth of work that they do over the course of the wedding day. And the final thing is, even though they're not really traditional lab fees, photography is expensive. There's constant maintenance of your cameras and your lenses and buying the latest and greatest equipment. So that's something you want to make sure your photographer has. In fact, in our studio, we always make sure our photographers have at least 6 lenses that they're working with and 2 camera bodies. So all of that adds up, and that does contribute to the price of your wedding photography. So thank you so much for watching Notes from the Lightbox. As always, we appreciate our audience. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments, please email or Facebook us. And you can always visit our new website, www.notesfromthelightbox.com. And there you can subscribe to get weekly vlogs in your inbox of all of our tips and wedding advice. Thanks so much.